Coming up in this episode of Rebel Report, more recaps on UNLV spring football as they prepare for the upcoming season, as well as UNLV baseball as they are currently first in the Mountain West.
We will also get to know a UNLV Rebel cheerleader.
Also, don't miss the rundown where we will discuss a controversial topic in women's sports, as well as the upcoming NBA playoffs. Welcome to Studio B on the campus of UNLV. This is the Rebel Report. I'm Jose Ruiz Lopez.
I'm Hector Solomon.
Every week, we are your source for UNLV sports, including highlights, the athletes, and the story behind them.
But we're also covering all of the major sporting events happening around Southern Nevada.
Let's begin with our top story.
Isaiah was on top of UNLV baseball as they hosted San Jose State in a 3-game series here at home. Here's Isaiah on how the Rebels did.
UNLV baseball swept San Jose State in a 3-game series here at home. I spoke with first baseman Hank Zeisler on what being in first place in the Mountain West does for the confidence of the team.
There's nothing better than waking up in first place, and I think a lot of us are on the same page. We know we're not playing our best baseball, so if we got room to grow and we're still sitting in first, I think it's a pretty good feeling, you know.
Over the weekend, UNLV swept San Jose State by scoring double-digit runs in every game of the series, totaling up to 38 runs scored in 3 games played. Zeisler spoke on the Rebels' offense as of late.
Our offense has been unreal all year, and it gives each guy a lot of confidence because there's no pressure because 1 through 9, we're all picking each other up. So it's not like there's pressure on one guy to get the job done. And when we put up 10, 12, 15 runs, it makes it easy for the pitchers. You know, they just got to go out there and do their thing and attack the zone, and good things should happen when we got a big lead.
After sweeping the Spartans, UNLV sits at 15-3 in conference play and 25-12 overall. With back-to-back games against Loyola Marymount and then a 3-game series against New Mexico, the Rebels have a busy week coming up to try and stay at the top of the Mountain West. With Rebel Report, I'm Isaiah Mora.
Thank you, Isaiah, for that exciting recap.
UNLV baseball hosted Loyola Marymount University Tuesday afternoon. Reporter Jamie Boyle has more.
On a day that wind played a huge factor, UNLV provided the pop. UNLV hit 6 home runs during the game. After the Rebels fell behind 3-0 after the top of the first inning, UNLV matched that and then followed up with 2 more runs in the bottom of the second. Loyola Marymount tied it up heading into the bottom of the fourth, and that was when the Rebels started to bring the heat. The Rebels put up 5 in the bottom half of the fourth inning, and then followed that up by adding 9 runs, sending 12 to the plate in the frame. Powering that inning was Austin Krischik, who homered 3 times on the day, twice in the bottom 5 alone. UNLV got out to a 21-11 lead heading into the 7th, where right-hander Noah Beal sealed the game with 2 strikeouts, giving UNLV the mercy win and the 1-1 series split over the Lions. UNLV improves to 26-12 on the year and hosts the University of New Mexico for a weekend series at Earl E. Wilson Stadium.
UNLV football is looking at several candidates to fill the top running back position, left empty by rusher Charles Williams. Reporter Alex Wright has more.
UNLV football is wrapping up week 4 of its spring football practices. One of the goals for the spring is to look to fill the void left by the school's all-time leading rusher Charles Williams at running back. There are several candidates that are emerging as possibilities for the top back, like Courtney Reese, Chad Magar, and Javon Wilson. Arroyo likes the competition he is seeing in the running back room so far.
I mean, those guys have been challenged. We know the departure of Chuck is a big deal, you know, and so those guys have really been challenged to pick up that torch and go. And so all those guys are getting a ton of reps. We've been really demanding that position. We've been successful in this offense with those guys for a long time, and so we've encouraged those guys like Javon and Courtney and Magyar and Briggs and all those guys. They've got to be able to pick the thing up.
Arroyo is looking for an all-purpose back who can take the load that Williams carried and be effective in the passing game. And in the spring, they have created various situations to see who could fit that mold.
We utilize our backs in a lot of ways. You guys have seen that in the offense. We throw those guys screens. They got to be out the pass game. They got to be able to protect. And so we're trying to make sure that we've got some all-purpose ability there in that room. And so we're recruiting to that. We're trying to develop that.
After the spring scrimmage at Allegiant Stadium on April 23rd, the Rebels have just one more week of spring football practice left. For Rebel Report, I'm Alex Wright.
Our AHL team, the Henderson Silver Knights, played last week and had an exciting win against the first team in the Pacific Division. Here's reporter Jacob Teller with more on the game.
The Henderson Silver Knights squared off against the Stockton Heat this past weekend in a 3-game series. The Knights went the distance the first game, but lost in OT 4-3. Returning to the Dollar Loan Center for the second matchup of the week, Stockton got on the board first at the end of the first period with Jacob Pelletier scoring on a power play. Gage Quinet answered back to close out the first frame, tied 1-1. Entering the second period, Ben Jones for the Silver Knights opened the period, scoring a goal to give the Knights their first lead. Jones went on to score his second goal of the game towards the end of the period, extending the lead to 2. To wrap things up in the final period, the Knights continued to rain on the Stockton Heat after Brendan Bryson scored his second goal of the season. The game ended 4-2, with the Knights on top, evening the 3-game series 1-1. Here's Ben Jones after the game.
Yeah, felt pretty good. Obviously, we had a good game plan going in. We knew we kind of had to put a lot in front of that goalie over there. He's a pretty good goalie, so we knew we had to kind of get everything in net. It sounds a bit cliche, but trying to get everything in net and just trying to bang a couple home, and obviously it worked out tonight.
I'm here at the Dollar Loan Center where the Henderson Silver Knights just beat the Stockton Heat 4-2. They'll be playing again tomorrow against the Heat, and we're going to see if they can beat them yet again. This is Jacob Teller reporting for Rebel Report.
Now moving on to our men's tennis team and how they competed recently. The Air Force Falcons flew into Vegas this weekend and spoiled UNLV's men's tennis senior night. In the singles competition, the two teams split the 6 games. UNLV was led by Christopher Bullis, Milos Dabic, and Anton Orenberg. However, in doubles, Air Force won 2 of the 3 matches to get the weekend victory. UNLV has struggled in conference play, but the Rebels will look to make a Cinderella run in the Mountain West Tournament, which begins April 29th.
Earlier this week, the women's golf team wrapped their season up by participating in the Mountain West Conference Championship. Here's reporter Kimia Oliver with the recap.
The women's golf team finished in 5th place in the Mountain West Championship. 3 Rebels finished in the top 12 on the leaderboard, with freshman Sydney Bryan tying for 10th place at 6 over 22. Senior Veronica Joles and junior Nicole Lorp tied for 12th place at 7 over 223. The Rebels will wait until Wednesday, April 27th, to find out if they will continue their postseason play at the NCAA Regionals. From Rebel Report, I'm Kimia Oliver.
Thank you, Kimia. Good luck to the women's golf team on their road towards the playoffs. Coming up on the rundown, Connor and Lexi will discuss a current controversial topic in women's sports, as well as looking towards the beginning of the NBA playoffs.
Second round or undrafted, who's going to make it to the NBA?
I don't know. Ladies, I know they just won the Mountain West Conference. You said, do you think they're going to take it all the way?
I hope they do. I feel like they're bound to.
You guys, Rebel Report.
RebelReportUNLV.com has everything you're looking for when it comes to Las Vegas news, sports, and current events. All articles are written by a handful of talented local writers who keep up on everything Las Vegas, from UNLV athletics to Vegas Golden Knights, UFC, and many, many more. You can even view videos and photos from your favorite Las Vegas events in a special folder found on the site. So go check out RebelReport.com and see what we have to offer.
Are you a sports fan and want to keep up with your local sports?
Well, then listen up, because we have the perfect thing for you.
Welcome to Rebel Report, where we cover all things Las Vegas sports.
Soccer, we got it.
Baseball, we got it.
Football, we got it.
And basketball?
Well, you know the answer to that one.
Welcome to the Rundown. I'm your host this week, Jelani Watts. I'm joined by Connor Torres and Lexi Ingdahl. There have been national discussions regarding Leah Thomas, a transgender swimmer on the women's swimming team for UPenn. She set multiple freestyle records this season and has also broken Ivy League records. So guys, given that Leah was abiding by the NCAA policies and that she was on hormone therapy, do you think she should have been allowed to compete with her cisgender teammates?
I think Leah most definitely had a right to compete. As an individual, whether male or female, we all have a right to participate in the sports that we believe in and that we want to play for. So I think it was really important for her to participate in this sport and come back strong and as the person who she is.
Absolutely. So. Yeah. And before transition, she was participating in swim prior to COVID, and then after her transition, she participated again. So I don't see any reason as to why she wouldn't be allowed to.
All right. And then do you guys see the NCAA going forward with any new policies, or do you think that the situation that just happened, do you think that that will set any sort of standard for the future?
I definitely think that Leah, as a pioneer for trans women, I think it was like amazing for her to come out and be as brave as she was to participate in the sport. I know there's a lot of differing opinions on this subject. She even has some teammates that agree with her participating, and she has other teammates that don't necessarily agree with her participating. So it is a very open-ended, kind of touchy subject where that's kind of how new things happen. You know, she's a pioneer in her field and in swimming in general. And women's athletics, they don't necessarily get as much coverage in general. So to see this being as one of the big topics for women's athletics, I think it shouldn't be as national groundbreaking news as they want to make it seem. I think there's a lot of things in women's sports that should be covered nationally, whether it's games-wise, events-wise, and the fact that just having this one event be like a nationally known subject, it's not, I don't think it should have as much coverage. I don't think it's as much of a big deal as it should be.
As much of it shouldn't be on such a national scale as it currently is.
Yeah, I think she definitely has a right to stand for who she is. Absolutely. And to play the sport she loves. So.
And at the end of the day, the NCAA, they allowed the sport itself to make a decision. So they had every right, and they made that decision to allow her to participate. And she has every right to participate regardless of what people think about it.
Yeah, I think especially on top of that subject, as her sport, even the NCAA made a rule that she had to go through 2 years of, not just her, but in general, they have to go through 2 years of hormone
therapy.
Yeah, correct. So the fact that she did that, she was held up to all the standards of her university.
Right.
She went through all the tests. I think she was on track with exactly what she needed to do. So why should she have to suffer consequences and not play her sport?
That is very accurate. And going on to somewhat of a lighter topic, NBA playoffs are here. Who do you guys think are going to make it to the conference semifinals out of each region?
I most definitely think the Warriors are going to make it through. What do you think?
I mean, you're right about the Warriors. They have that DEFCON 5 lineup, a plus 29 in 11 minutes. But I'm looking at some of the other ones. You're looking at Memphis and Minnesota. It's a 1-1 series. I think it's going to go to 7, and it's going to count on D'Angelo Russell to play if they want to win that series.
Nice.
When you're looking at the other 2 ones, it's going to be if Luka's healthy for Memphis or for Dallas and Utah.
Right.
And then when you're looking at the East, you're looking at Milwaukee. They just lost Chris Middleton for a month with a left MCL sprain. This Chicago team could take advantage of that. You're looking at Toronto and Philly. Philly's going to, I think they're going to sweep.
Philly for sure.
Yeah.
Sweep, clean sweep.
Yeah.
I think especially too, the playoffs this year seem to have been plagued by many injuries. Even in the first round here, I mean, with Luka, he's not coming back for Game 3. They're not really looking to see him back in Game 3, but hopefully in Game 4 they're going to have him back. Also, to go on to Memphis as well with Minnesota, we have Anthony Edwards. I think he's an important topic too of discussion. I mean, first-year player putting up these big numbers, it's really impressive.
Like I said, it's going to come down to D'Angelo Russell, though, because I know Memphis will shut down one of those players, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Edwards. D'Angelo Russell's going to have a 30-point game. But I wanted to look at one more team. It's Boston and Brooklyn. Now, it's an interesting series, 2-0, Boston's up. Ben Simmons comes back for Game 4. I think it's a good opportunity for them to take advantage of that and maybe force a Game 7, and that's what I'm looking for in that one.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for being on the Rundown this week.
Yeah, no problem.
And that's all for this week's Rundown. I'll send it back over to the desk to Hector and Jose.
Up next, we will be getting to know Rebel, who is our part of our UNLV cheer team. Stay tuned for that exciting interview.
I'm Jelani Watts.
And I'm Hector Solomon.
And that's all for Rebel Report. We'll see you next time.
And cut.
I got 2 minutes to get to the Mac Center before the game starts.
Tired of endless scrolling through sports shows that don't talk about your Vegas teams? Haven't found the right sports show for you?
I just wish there was a show that focused on Vegas sports.
There is.
Really?
It's called The Rebel Report.
What is Rebel Report?
The Rebel Report is a UNLV sports show run by UNLV students that covers everything Vegas sports, to Golden Knights hockey, to Raiders football, to UNLV softball. The Rebel Report has it all.
You don't have to tell me twice. I'm watching right now.
You can watch The Rebel Report on YouTube and Facebook. And for more sports news, follow The Rebel Report on Twitter.
Now it's time to learn some new things about one of our UNLV athletes here on campus. This Rebel is part of the UNLV cheer team.
Here's Nick Todorovich with more on getting to know this Rebel.
Thank you guys. This week I got the chance to speak with a 3-time national champion cheerleader. Take a look. Hi everyone, I'm joined by Brianna Stott, a UNLV cheerleader. Brianna, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for joining me. So why'd you become a cheerleader?
Well, I was a gymnast for 13 years, and then as I got older and got a little taller, it became a little more difficult, and I just wasn't in love with it as much as I was in the beginning, but I still loved the concept of flipping and like doing all that, so I tried out for my high school team, and then I just fell in love with cheer.
So after you join your high school team, what's the process of like developing into a college cheerleader?
For sure, like getting up like your tumbling skills, like those are obviously a little more harder in college. And then like for UNLV, like we have a tryout process. So like you go day 1, and then if you make it to day 2, then you just keep trying out.
So you've been a cheerleader for 4 years now. What have been some of your favorite memories?
Obviously nationals, like having 3 like rings because of UNLV cheer, like that's pretty awesome. But like just cheering games and like being able to like pump up the crowd and like cheer in front of them and like cheer on like football and basketball, it's like really fun.
Take me through that journey of getting a ring. How was that emotion right when they put that ring on you and you like knew you were the champ?
It's unbelievable. Like freshman year was our first like national title, and like we were on stage, and like right after we like did our routine, like we knew like we did it, like we knew we won. And so like sitting there like just waiting for them to call our name in first, like it was unbelievable. Like it's so hard to explain.
That's really awesome. But we're running out of time, so one last question. What words of advice do you have for up-and-coming young cheerleaders?
For sure, just to keep pushing and like always try like hard and like be confident. Like don't let anyone like tear you down. Like just use that as motivation.
Thank you, Brianna, for joining us. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to tune in next week to get to know yet another Rebel. Thank you, Brianna. We can't wait to see what you do next. And now I'll send it back over to Hector.
Up next, we will be taking a look at our Las Vegas Lights did this past weekend, as well as looking at what addition the UNLV men's basketball team made recently.
go-to place for coverage of sports all over Las Vegas, providing stories and content you won't find anywhere else.
Hey, did you catch that UNLV game?
I did.
Oh, I had to work, so couldn't go.
You can always look it up on Rebel Report.
What's Rebel Report?
Rebel Report is a 30-minute sports program on PBS, YouTube, and Facebook. They cover all UNLV sports.
Oh, is that it?
They also cover sports all across Las Vegas.
Oh, I'll make sure to subscribe. Oh, it's 3:30. We gotta get to class.
Second round or undrafted, who's going to make it to the NBA?
I don't know. Ladies, I know they just won the Mountain West Conference. You said, do you think they're going to take it all the way?
I hope they do. I feel like they're bound to.
You guys, Rebel Report.
Hey, Alex, you ready to record the podcast?
Yeah, Barry, I'm ready. Let's get it going.
All right, sounds good. In 3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Rebel Report podcast for another edition of What They Did Right with Alex Wright. I'm Brandon Steele talking UNLV football. Alex, what did you think of last week's game? Alex?
Oh,
Alex?
my bad, Brandon. I was looking up on Rebel Report's website. They got a ton of new content. VGK, the Raiders, Golden Knights, UNLV football. They got a ton of stuff, new articles that just were published today.
All right, man. Sounds good. No worries. So I guess we'll go ahead and just redo the intro for our podcast. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Report podcast. I am Brandon Steele alongside Alex Wright for another edition of What They Did Right. How you doing today, Alex? Alex, you good, man? What's going on?
Oh, my bad, Brandon. I just saw they posted the latest episode of Rebel Report. It's up right now on their YouTube page and their Facebook page.
Oh, a new episode's out now?
Yeah.
All right. So we might have to wrap this up and go watch that episode then.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. Get caught up on what's happening at UNLV and Las Vegas sports, then get back to our podcast. Make sure it gets posted on the Rebel Report website.
The Las Vegas Lights played the Pittsburgh Riverhounds last Saturday. Lexi Engdahl has more.
Las Vegas Lights beat the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 1-0 on Saturday, April 16th. The Riverhounds are ranked second in the USL Eastern Conference with 4 wins, 1 tie, and 1 loss. The Lights handed the Riverhounds their first loss of the 22 season. The lone goal of the game was scored in the 27th minute by forward Daniel Trejo del Rio, tallying his 6th of the season. Goalkeeper Tomás Romero talks about the dub in his first clean sheet of the season.
I've played against Pittsburgh a couple other times, and we had good scouting report. We know what they're going to do and the ideas that they have. So they stuck to their game plan, and we just did well defending it. So it was great from the defenders and the midfielders and everything.
The Lights' next home game at Cashman Field is Saturday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. facing the LA Galaxy 2. We hope to see you there supporting our local professional football club against their rivals.
We wish the Lights the best of luck this weekend. Thanks, Lexi.
Our UNLV track and field team had an eventful past weekend. Reporter Jillian Maricini has more.
UNLV track and field spent the weekend in California at the Brian Clay Invitational, April 13th through 15th, and the Long Beach Invitational, April 15th and 16th. The Rebels recorded over 10 personal bests at the 2 meets combined. There were many highlights, like freshman Aaron Thompson tied for 5th in the high jump. Junior Lakaya Yazzie placed 25th in the W1500 run, who I also caught up with after the meet. Here's what she had to say.
And then I also PR'd in steeplechase at an 11:20. That was the 5th best time at UNLV all time. Overall, there was a lot of PRs. I think it was one of the fastest races this year so far. And it really just built the team dynamic up overall.
The Rebels will continue to wrap up their season by heading to Arizona for the Desert Heat Classic on April 30th. Go Rebels.
The NBA playoffs got off to a hot start. Here's Murad Omeish with more.
The NBA playoffs have officially began. In the first round of Game 1s, the Jazz upset the Mavericks on the road with a score of 99-93, while the Timberwolves also beat the Grizzlies on the road with a score of 130-117. The 76ers soundly beat the Raptors at home with a score of 131-111, while the Warriors also secured a home win to the Nuggets with a score of 123-107. The Heat were able to secure a 115-91 win against the Hawks, while the Bucks edged the Bulls at home by a score of 93-86. The Suns defeated the Pelicans with a score of 110-99, but the game that stole the show was the Nets and Celtics, where Kyrie Irving's 39-point game against his former team was shadowed by Jason Tatum's buzzer beater, which won the game for the Celtics by 1 point. Here's Kyrie on his ongoing feud with the Celtics fan base.
Where I'm from, I'm used to all these antics and people being close nearby. It's nothing new when I come into this building, what it's going to be like, but it's the same energy they have for me, and I'm going to have the same energy for them. And it's not every fan. I don't want to attack every fan, every Boston fan.
Let's hope this playoff energy brings more good games. From Rebel Report, this is Murad Omesh.
What a start to the playoffs. Thank you, Murad.
UNLV men's basketball program has made a new addition to their team. John Cooper has recently been hired as an assistant coach for our men's basketball team here at UNLV. Cooper comes with an abundance of coaching experience, totaling nearing 3 decades. He has been head coach at Miami University and Tennessee State, as well as holding an assistant coaching role at several different universities. While Cooper was serving as head coach for Miami University, he was able to help produce 5 All-Mid-America Conference selections, as well as having 4 of his players going in to pursue a career in professional ranks in his 5 seasons as the Red Hawks coach. We are very excited to welcome Cooper to our Running Rebel family. That will do it for this episode of Rebel Report.
Thank you for watching.